Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
8 men have been found guilty of sexually exploiting teenage girls in Rotherham, 13 years after the original allegations of abuse. Sheffield Crown Court was told that one of the men's victims and her family moved abroad because of threats made to them after they reported the abuse to police, MPs and social services. Channel 4 News interviewed one of the convicted men 2 years ago when the Rotherham scandal first emerged. Here's Paul McNamara.
For 5 weeks, they've arrived in court hiding their faces. For more than a decade, they hid their vile crimes. The men who once meted out abuse in Rotherham with impunity are tonight in prison.
These were horrific crimes. We're talking about the sexual abuse and rape of children. Let's be clear, these victims were just 13 years old. I cannot put into words how the victims have suffered as a result of this abuse. But I'm so grateful that these brave women have chosen to put their trust in us and given evidence in a court of law, resulting in these convictions of 8 very, very dangerous sexual offenders.
Those 8 offenders preyed on their victims on the streets of Rotherham. One girl told the court how she was first approached at just 13 by a man she thought cared for her. He forced her to have sex, he assaulted her and passed her around his friends. That man was Sagir Hussain, who spoke to Channel 4 News 2 years ago while he was under investigation. We asked him why he thought there were such high levels of reported abuse in Rotherham.
You've got young, vulnerable little girls going into clubbing at stuff ages like that, and they're ending up going with blokes and stuff like that. They're waking up next morning and they scream rape or groomed.
We then told him we had heard allegations of abuse by him.
If they come to me and say, right, Mr. Sagir Hussain, we've got proof, we've got hard evidence that you have done so and so, then fair enough. I'll put my hands up, I wouldn't even get handcuffed, I'll go with them.
Did you ever have sex with a girl that you subsequently learnt was underage?
No, nothing whatsoever.
Everything he said was a lie. And today he was found guilty, albeit 13 years after the offences. So why so long?
There are elements to this trial similar to child grooming cases across the country. Older men preying on young girls, flattering them with attention they just weren't used to, giving the girls gifts as they saw it of alcohol and drugs, earning their trust and their debt before abusing them. But this case also follows a pattern of local authorities falling desperately short in their duty of care, and police officers who did not appear to take the rape of young teenagers, children, seriously.
Today we asked South Yorkshire Police about some of the most serious failings exposed in this trial.
A 13-year-old girl comes to police, says I've been raped, she's examined, bruises are found, some samples are taken, and within days that evidence goes missing. I mean, how does evidence like that go missing?
Well, they're obviously very serious matters that are being looked into now by the IPCC in relation as to what action South Yorkshire Police did and didn't take at that time, and we will fully comply with the IPCC and support them in any investigation.
The failures in this case have been looked at by the police watchdog, but they're not alone. The Independent Police Complaints Commission is currently carrying out 56 investigations into allegations of how South Yorkshire Police dealt with grooming in Rotherham. They involve 26 officers and include allegations of corruption. The National Crime Agency has taken over the criminal investigation and is currently looking at 38 suspects involving 133 victims, and they admit the eventual totals will be extremely large. This will not be the last case of grooming in Rotherham. More trials are set. But for tonight, 3 brave women who lived with their abuse for more than a decade have finally seen justice.
Well, as that verdict was coming through, the chair of the National Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse was announcing she planned to limit the number of public hearings it would hold. Professor Alexis Jay, who previously led the inquiry in Rotherham, said that if she pursued a one-size-fits-all approach to all 13 areas of investigation, her panel would never finish its task. She's launched an internal review to ensure that the bulk of the work can be completed by the end of 2020. Jane Deeth has this report.
It's supposed to be an inquiry into institutional child sexual abuse, from children's homes to Westminster, from the church to the armed forces. But is it now lowering its sights? The fourth chair, Professor Alexis Jay, said today some of the investigations won't take the form of public hearings, raising fears they'll be reduced to paper exercises.
If we were to pursue the traditional public hearing model that people associate with inquiries of this kind to the thousands and thousands of institutions in England and Wales, we would fail. So there's no possibility that we can do that. However, we will apply it to some, but that will not be the main ways in which we will take this inquiry forward.
Alexis Jay says she isn't reducing the scope of the inquiry, but some institutions investigated for failing to prevent abuse won't be held to account in public. Peter Saunders is on the Victims and Survivors panel. He says the inquiry's got now to be realistic.
Given the scale of the problem, I mean the scale of child abuse across thousands of institutions in this country, it's little surprise that there will be some that will, if you like, will escape the spotlight. But at the moment, nobody knows who those institutions are, and of course, because it's a statutory inquiry, all institutions have to comply with any requests that come from the inquiry.
But it won't reassure some survivors groups who think the whole inquiry is a cover-up and are threatening to pull out. The last chair of the inquiry, Dame Lowell Goddard, pulled out and then had to deny claims of misconduct and making racist remarks. Today, the Home Secretary, Amber Rudd, had to deny she may have been being economical when she said the judge quit because she was lonely.
To echo any further allegations which are now likely to be the subject of legal dispute would have been entirely inappropriate.
The inquiry's new approach promises historical abuse will be uncovered sooner. Meanwhile, Sir Cliff Richard came to Parliament to appeal for obscurity for those suspected of sexual abuse unless they're charged. He was named at the start of an investigation which was dropped. Campaigners say naming suspects is a rare option which helps victims come forward.
I've been getting away